Hello there, my name is Mark Walsh, and I decided to create this channel to basically just talk about why I first started playing Harley Benton guitars and why I now own 4 of them. To go over a little bit of the background of my guitar playing history, I am 45 years old. I started playing guitar when I was 10. I have owned just way too many guitars in my lifetime. I have owned a total of 4 actual Gibson Les Pauls, 2 or 3 Epiphone Les Pauls, a Stevie Ray Vaughan Strat, 2 Mexican Strats, Fenders, 1 actual really nice Squire Strat, then various Jacksons, ESPs, and the like. So I have owned like what would be considered like nice guitars. I did take an extended break from playing guitar for a while, and I bought my first Harley Benton about 3 years ago, and just kind of getting back into it and basically just seeing if I would like even playing guitar again. And turned out as we all do, we love playing guitar and really enjoyed it, and shockingly loved playing the Harley Benton Strat that I bought. As a matter of fact, it's this boy right here, because it kind of looks, it reminded me of the Stevie Ray Strat that I had years and years and years ago. The Stevie Ray Strat, and yes, I do regret getting rid of it years ago, but it was a 16th birthday present for my mother in 1992. It was like one of the first runs. It was a nice guitar. But anyway, but I got that particular Harley Benton Strat because it reminded me of the Stevie Ray Strat. And if I remember right, that Harley Benton right there was around $100. It was like 110, 106, like one of those weird amounts that Harley Benton sometimes has on, or Thomann sometimes has on their site for the Harley Bentons. So I played that for a little while, really enjoyed it, have had no issues with it. And then since I really enjoyed it and have a history of playing humbucker guitars, I decided to go ahead and buy this, one of their like Les Paul copy guitars. This, they didn't have any, and this is basically like their copy of like a Les Paul custom, but they didn't have any of the new stock in stock. So I bought this as a B stock, and I believe that was like $91. And I bought that also about 3 years ago, maybe a couple months after I bought the first Strat. And then I played those here and there over the last few years. And then recently, well, without my knowledge, I experienced a TBI. For those of you who don't know, that's a traumatic brain injury, in late 2018, and recently got back in, like much more back into playing guitar, more as like a memory exercise to see if I could remember a lot of the songs that I played as a kid, see if I was able to come up with new stuff, see if I remembered fingerings, and you'll notice like I kind of stumble over words sometimes. See if I remember fingerings, if I was able to just create anything like off the top of my head and things like that. So I've basically been using it as a memory exercise. So when I got back into it even more, I started buying more Harley Bentons because they're good and they're affordable. So third one I bought was and I believe this is the ST57DG. It's like their David Gilmour tribute. And this I like this one even more than the first Strat I bought. This one is absolutely fantastic. It came pretty well intonated and pretty well set up. As with all these guitars, and I'll explain this when I go through all the 4 that I have, I'll explain what you do have to look out for on the Harley Benton guitars, just because they are kind of affordable and they're shipped from overseas and everything. But this one is probably my favorite. You might hear me at one point or another say that about all 4 of these, but I love this one. And then just last week sometime, my short-term memory is gone. Absolutely gone. But just last week sometime, this one was delivered. And this is the, I forget the model number on this one, but it's the obviously Telecaster body, obviously 2 humbucker configuration. It's the one, it's like meant to be like their metal telly, but for me it's anything but. It actually sounds real. I don't play metal. Obviously I have 2 Strats. I play kind of low overdrive kind of stuff. And these pickups actually sound fantastic for low overdrive kind of stuff. This one did not arrive as well intonated and as well set up as the Dave Gilmour tribute Strat. And now that you've seen all 4, I'll go into the things to kind of look out for. The pros for Harley Benton guitars. Number 1 is the price. You are not going to find guitars that are as affordable, play as nice. These actually do play very, very nice. Like I said, I have owned actual Fender Strats. I've owned actual Gibson Les Pauls. I've owned actual Fender Telecasters. Now, with guitar prices the way they're going currently, would I take one of these over an actual Fender? New, with the way the prices are, yes. But a used one, if I could get a nice used Fender for a decent price, I might try to go that route. But these actually play nice, but for the more pros. The hardware, and a lot of the reviews that you'll read, they speak ill of the hardware, and it is kind of crappy because the tuners are not great. That's probably one of the first things. If you are going to switch some stuff out, the tuners are definitely going to be the first things you want to sort out and get rid of. But I think part of the reason that a lot of people struggle with the tuners is that I have found on each of the Fender style guitars that I've received, these screws have been in various forms of, or various stages of looseness. And you have to tighten them down. And anyone with any kind of actual guitar experience and knowledge knows you don't tighten them down to the point where you're fully torqued down and that tuner's not going to move. You just tighten them down to general snugness. Like for example, on this one, the G string, the G tuner was almost completely loose because I started playing. Well, first thing I do is I change strings and just kind of let it sit overnight. Well, next day, get up, kind of stretch everything out, tune up, started playing, and that G string would not stay in tune to save its life. So I kind of started troubleshooting, realized, oh, this screw is loose as all hell. So tightened down literally all of these to general snugness, and now it stays in tune just fine. So the tuners, you're gonna be able to get by with the Harley Benton hardware as long as you know to at least check for the screw tightness on the tuners. So if you're reading reviews of the Harley Benton stuff and it says that their tuners are crap, it may be right, or it may just be people writing those reviews who don't know to check for the tension of these screws and to make sure that they're not obscenely loose from the factory. Also, every single, strangely other than the Gibson copy, every single of the Fender style Harley Bentons that I've received, the action has been obscenely high. So you will have to do, if you're familiar with it. Now, granted, the Harley Bentons are mostly, I would say, a lot of beginners are going to be tempted to buy these just because of the cost. But I'm not a beginner, and I almost cursed there, but I freaking love these things. But there's going to be some things you're going to need to check out, kind of like the hardware and the action. If you know how to adjust the action, or can watch some YouTube videos on how to adjust the action on these without creating fret buzz, you'll be able to get your guitar set up and pretty damn nicely playable, and save yourself a ton of money from other options. But with the Fender style guitars, I did have to adjust the action. On this one, I had to adjust it a lot. And I don't know if you'll be able to tell it on here, but it's still fairly high. I don't mind that. I don't mind a high action. But this one in particular was, it was almost like it was set up to be a slide guitar. But strangely, the B-stock Les Paul copy that I got was, and it may be a product of it being a B-stock, was set up perfectly when I got it. And that's the one I paid the least for. That one was, like I said, I think it was in the 80s. It was only like 81 or 87 bucks that I paid for this thing. And it is absolutely fantastic. This thing plays. Now this one, I actually would, of the 4-ish, 5-ish actual Gibson Les Pauls that I've owned in my life, I would actually take this over all but one of them. Hand on a Bible. This thing actually plays fantastic. It sounds good. These are not the Roswell pickups or whatever they have. These are just like the standard whatever KAF copies that they put in. But the Roswell pickups in these, actually the two Strats, the Telly doesn't have the Roswell pickups in them either. But these PAF pickups actually sound really, really good. I'm trying to think of any other things to kind of look out for, at least in these four particular guitars. Now, with Harley Benton, they also have, well, another thing, you're probably going to want to get some sort of case or gig bag. Their new ones are nice. The gig bags that I bought with the first 3 guitars were really, really thin. And here I have one right down here underneath this Strat. The first 3 were just this standard polyester crap. It's just for transporting, and you can see just how thin it really is. There's pretty much zero padding in these things. It's just a dust cover for all intents and purposes. But when I bought that Telly, and it came, these new ones that they're shipping out actually have padding in them. The new ones are actually kind of fantastic. I don't know if these are going to be the new norm with Thomann, but these, same price, and I love these things. These are phenomenal. So definitely, if you order from Thomann, order a gig bag as well. Their cables and stuff are really cheap. They're don't get their picks. Their picks are kind of garbage. But as you can kind of see behind me, I also have one of the Harley Benton Mighty Fifth amps, and actually both of these cabs are also Harley Benton 112s. These are not the, I forget what they call them, but I think they have ones that have Celestians in them. These are not those. These are the, I think I paid like $75 or something each for each of these 3 years ago. I don't think they're that cheap now. That's another thing with buying anything off Thomann. Shipping prices are insane right now, which is unfortunate because I think the next thing I'm going to go with is I am going to get another Harley Benton, but it's going to be, I think I'm going to buy one of their kits. And I think it's going to be the Jazzmaster kit. They have these like DIY kits that you can put together. It comes pre-wired, like all kind of sort of pre-wired. But it all comes, it's just basically like a plug and play thing, but you can refinish, you can sand it down. I guess it comes with kind of like a light lacquer on it just for wood preservation and shipping. But you can sand it down and finish it to whatever finish you want to put on it. But the Jazzmaster-esque one comes with P90s, and I don't have any P90 guitars right now, and I want one. So I think that might be the play. So if I get that, I might do, if I choose to do more videos on this, that might be the next play, is I'll do maybe like a series of videos of me actually sanding down and finishing the Jazzmaster-ish looking thing that I may end up putting together. But I just wanted to do a video kind of, because I've seen some reviews of Harley Bentons, and mostly it's ones of people who it looks like they've been given the Harley Bentons, or they're like sponsored things. I've actually paid for these with my own money. It was kind of like a one-off deal when I bought the first one. And I was like, oh, it's cheap. Let me just kind of try it out and see what happens. And truth be told, I kind of fell in love with them. Price is a consideration because, like I said, I'm not going to spend. I'm kind of a Fender fanboy, but I'm not willing to spend. I mean, hell, the Mexican Strats start out at what, like $1,000? No, these Strats right here, I'm not going to say that they're as good, but they'll do. Especially if you're going to gig or anything like that, they're perfectly fine. And you don't have to worry about like beer getting spilled on them and freaking out because your $1,000 to $2,000 guitar is now all sticky and crap. So I would highly recommend, if you're questioning if you should try out a Harley Benton, yeah, you should, because for one, they're actually worth the money and more. They're worth more than what you're paying for them. I've had 2 of them for at least 3 years, and they're still going strong. Haven't had any problems at all with pots malfunctioning, jacks malfunctioning, tuners going out. I haven't replaced anything. Both of those are still bone stock, and they're still going strong, and they still sound fantastic. The Harley Benton Mighty Fifth amp, I've had that for about the same time. I think I've had that for about 3 years. Nothing wrong with it. It still sounds fantastic. As you can tell, I also like vintage stuff. That is a roughly 50-year-old custom casino club. Technically a bass amp, but I threw an ABY switch. I run both of them together, and you wouldn't think it would sound good, but that's solid state, that's tube, and when you run them ABY and kind of mix them both together, it sounds phenomenal. But if you come across this and have any questions about Harley Benton or anything, I'm kind of like a cheap / inexpensive gear connoisseur. If you have any questions about that kind of stuff, hit me up. If I know the answer, I'll tell it to you. If I don't, I'll research and see if I can help you out at all. Until next time, I see you.